Session today on the overnight economy, talking a little bit about Open Farm Days. So again, as always, please put any questions into the chat. We'll have some time at the end to answer any questions, and we'll kind of take things from there. All right. So a quick overview. I think most people are familiar with who the Open Farm Days team is, but I like to touch on it because we do have some exciting new farms participating. So this will be new for some people. So we have Suzanne Kelly here. She is in one of the corners here with ACE, and she's program leader for Open Farm Days. We've got Camille Hanlon, who joined us a year ago, and she is our marketing and media expert, and I help with planning and regulatory information. All three of us are available, obviously, to answer any of your questions that you have and to help you with your planning. Open Farm Days, it's pretty exciting. We're now in our 13th year as a province-wide open house for farms, an opportunity really to network and to meet other people, to teach rural and urban and bridge that divide between the two, and also to create some new contacts, particularly for those that have CSAs or are looking to be direct marketing some of their products. We started a few years ago with our 10th anniversary with some thematics. And the first thematic was really just an overarching concept about how can we talk about farms from a big picture perspective. And really one of the reasons that we started it is that media marketing angle. As we were at our 10th year, we are starting to have a lot of inquiries about, well, what's different this year? And the reality is all of our farms continue to evolve and change and have different things. But from a media marketing perspective, people were looking for a little bit of a hook. So we implemented a thematic for the years and have implemented an artist as well for the last 3 years now as well. So this year's theme is water, which is following actually the United Nations Year of, and they're talking about glaciers. So we've taken it one step further and we're talking about water. And we invite and encourage our farms to talk about how they use water. And if anyone is interested in a blog post on their farms, it'd be great to connect directly with Camille, who is writing some beautiful blog posts and highlighting different farms from all around the province. So feel free to go ahead and do that. Now that we have closed our registration for Open Farm Days, it's a great opportunity to talk a little bit about the growth over the years and where we're sitting right now. This year, right now, we're sitting at 170 registrations for Open Farm Days, which is pretty exciting. So last year was our highest year ever at 152, and this year, we know that there will always be a few cancellations beforehand, family emergencies, droughts, fires, and things. But we're sitting at a registration of 170 farms. So very excited to see that kind of growth. With that kind of growth also, you know, as people start to network their networks, we have a lot more awareness around the program. So when you start to think about 170 farms that are also telling their families and their friends and their networks, that really does help us to grow as well. So it's wonderful to see that kind of growth. And with that growth comes incremental people. It also comes incremental spend. So it's fun to kind of see that. And as a program, our approach really for growing agritourism is to grow it with you. There are roles that Open Farm Days plays, and then there's roles that the farm plays. So we kind of slice it out a little bit. And as we get into the overnight economy, that's an opportunity to talk a little bit about what our role is and versus your role. And we're seeing a huge increase in interest in the overnight economy, which is why we're having this conversation. We had this conversation last year as well. And part of the reason for it was we started to take a look at what our consumers were looking for. And we've done some research into it to see what was important to them and what they're looking for. And as the program matures and changes, we have a lot of followers that have been following us since the beginning. And what's happening now, as we've been tracking them a little bit, is people are willing to spend more time on Open Farm Days, and they're also willing to drive further distances. So as we start to take a look at some of the numbers, the opportunities really start to kind of show themselves of the number of people that are aware of the program, the number of people that are going to drive for the program, and how far they're going to drive as well. And so we found this kind of interesting. When we first started out, people really, there's that sweet spot of people that are willing to drive sort of 30 kilometers. They don't want to go too far from where they live. As the time has progresses, so is the distance and the number of people that are willing to travel further for that experience. So we've got people that are now expanding and willing to go sort of 100 kilometers. 100 to 300 is a growing number as well. And then a small segment, but still that sort of 8 to 10% that are willing to drive any distance for the right experience. And as we start to talk about what that right experience is, it actually means that they have to have somewhere they can stay. And they will drive further if there's an overnight opportunity. So that's something that we like to talk to our communities about. And it's something that we like to talk to our farms about as well as they start to expand. So what was interesting, 84% of visitors were interested in multi-day excursions and planned routes. So for multi-days, obviously, some people, it'll be day trippers. So they're still going back to home and then they're going out. But what this is capturing is the people that were willing to spend time in overnight accommodation. When asked the question of what they were looking for, 64% of our visitors were interested in camping, farm stays, glamping. So they were interested in that sort of authentic experience. They weren't looking for hotels. They weren't looking for a standard accommodation. They were looking for something different for experiences. Now, there's a split when we ask questions about how much they're willing to spend, and so what we start to see is a split. We see younger families that are interested in cost-effective experiences. They are looking to spend a little bit less money. They're happy to camp. They're okay with glamping, but they're not interested in the super high end. Not all of them, of course. That super high end part of it, they're looking for something that's still considered affordable. But they're also willing to spend equal amounts of money as a hotel would be. So if they're having that glamping experience, they're not looking at those sort of $500, yurts and things like that. They're looking to spend 100 to 150, so something comparable of a day's inn or a holiday inn. So that's kind of the budget in place that they're looking for. But really, a significant number of them are looking at those kinds of opportunities and those kinds of experiences. So as we start to dig into the visitor economy, obviously we know the pivotal role that accommodation plays. So when we want to see things grow and kind of flourish in a community, spend more time, and also benefit the whole community, that overnight accommodation is massive. So this is a huge growing area. So Canada is a little bit underdeveloped in terms of agritourism. And when we take a look around at the different provinces, the two most developed provinces for agritourism would be Ontario and British Columbia. And part of that comes with the robust growth of the wine industries. So it's an area that people know. It's usually attracting a slightly higher end clientele, and then it is attracting culinary enthusiasts as well. So they're looking to come for the wine. They're looking for other like-minded food experiences and things like that. The secondary growth is, and this is what we're seeing a lot of right now in Alberta, which is wonderful, is those unique experiences. They want to go and visit rural Alberta. They're looking for the farm stays. They're looking for actual hands-on experiences in some cases, where you can actually go, stay, and have activities and things that are interactive. So this bodes really well for us. I think it's some area that Alberta right now is actually growing in, and we'll talk a little bit about where some of the dollars are coming from. But what we're seeing now is this growth in unique accommodations. We're seeing a lot more yurts, teepees, trapper tents, domes, those sorts of things are coming. And part of this is there's been a little bit of funding for infrastructure through granting programs like Travel Alberta, where they've been supporting initiatives like that. So something that we'll talk about in a little bit. But it's kind of exciting to see where it's coming. But to move a little bit further away from Canada, these are global trends. So, and this has started a long time ago in other places that are a little bit more developed than we are here in Canada. So really, we're starting to really get into it now as a country, but the potential is massive. And this has been shown based on the growth of agritourism and farm stays and stuff globally. So the market currently valued 69 billion for the overnight agritourism spend and stays. So that is a massive amount, and the growth is expected to continue to kind of spike. So getting into this now is really quite a tremendous opportunity. And the important part of this is that a lot of the international tourists are used to having these experiences all through Europe, through Australia, through Ireland, and also the States, who is further ahead of us in terms of development for this kind of thing as well. So there's already that sort of template of people know what it is, they understand those accommodations, and they're looking to take part in it. So getting into that visitor economy is actually very timely right now. Some of our mature markets, and I've highlighted Italy down here, because they have, for really a country that's about the size of Alberta in terms of population, I think they're close to 60 million right now. So they're larger than us in population, but the amount of beds and that they have for agritourism is pretty impressive. So there's a lot of room for us to grow. And as a very established market, they're seeing really nice growth still, and have for a long time. And then we're seeing it in other climates as well. We know that people are traveling for farm tourism because this increased interest in where our farm comes from. They're interested in homestays, homesteading, and organic farms, all sorts of different things. So it's kind of interesting. But the next page is going to show us a little bit about where we're starting to see those categories. And I've broken it down into sort of that low price point up to high price point. And the one thing we always like to talk about with open farm days is it's not about trying to be everything to everyone. It's about picking your niche and being authentic to what you do. So, if our visitors are not expecting you to contort yourself into the experience that they're looking for, what they're going to do is they're going to look for the experience they want and then find the providers for that. So this is where we sort of discourage people from, you don't need to necessarily bring in jumping castles and face painters and stuff. People are looking for a farm experience. So go ahead and deliver that farm experience. Don't try and be something that you're not. But if you do want to have jumping castles and face painters and that's what you want to do, then that's fine. But you don't need to try and be something that you're not. The consumer will find that experience that you're looking for. So the tippy top of the end, where people are spending kind of a lot of money per person, is something that they're calling farm luxe. So really, they call it rustic charm, but there's a certain high end nature of this, that they are looking for all the amenities of a boutique hotel. So they're looking for your high thread count sheets. They're looking for high end food and things like that. So luxury yurts, luxury cabins, they can be rustic, but they still have to have a lot of the really nice amenities, bed and breakfasts. They're looking for farm to table, curated nature walks, wellness treatments, those kinds of things, and willing to spend a lot of dollars for those kinds of things. New and emerging too is the digital detox. And we're also, I think many of you may have heard of the slow food movement. So there's another movement called slow travel. And that's where people are trying to get away from their phones. So looking for places that allow them to disconnect. And what's interesting is even in some of the digital detox or the slow tourism, they're still requiring Wi-Fi because people need to check in, but they're often reserved hours. So there might be an hour in the day that you can check things and go from there. Or some have actually no Wi-Fi capabilities. But those travelers are looking for those tech-free. They want to get outside. They want to get into nature. And also seeing stuff around yoga, goat yoga, and incorporating kind of unique things that make sense, nature walks. Food and wine integration. So that's where we talk about the growth that we've seen in BC and Ontario. This also applies to breweries, distilleries, fruit wineries. So that consumer is looking for food and drink. So that is where they want to see where are the unique cheeseries, food processors. They're looking for local, they're looking for things that are made from local products. It doesn't necessarily have to be what we would call high end, but they're looking for authenticity and they're looking for local. Uh, Eco and regeneration tourism. So we're looking at sustainability. As we start to enter this is more of that, not quite at the value end, but they're value for money kind of thing. They're not looking to spend as much as those top three, but they're looking to understand. They want to understand what farming is like. They maybe want to get their hands dirty. They're good with composting toilets. They like solar power. They want to be off the grid. Those are kind of neat experiences that they're looking for. And as we start to go down, we've got experiential agriculture. So these people are happy to be put to work. They don't want to work all day long necessarily, but they would be happy to get up and have some chores that they do in the morning. They'd be happy to milk a cow and collect eggs and start to do those kinds of things. They want to stay on the farm. They want to eat with the family. Those are different kinds of experiences that they're looking for, but they're looking, unlike everything that's above that level, they're looking for that still private high-end experience. These ones are looking to actually get in and spend time with and feel like they understand the family, what it's like to farm, the community. They totally want to be integrated. And then at that bottom tier is the ag education for children. So people that, younger families that want to take their kids or grandkids out, and they want them to have this experience about what farms are like. So these are the different kinds of people that are traveling and the different kinds of reasons. So as you start to take a look at that, you can kind of think about where your farm, your business fits in on that kind of model. It's not something for everyone, but there's probably one or two places that your model fits in there nicely. And it makes you start to think about who would want to come to my farm, how long do I think they would want to spend, and what could that look like for development for me, as part of my business as we move forward. All right. So we talked last year, and we had a guest speaker from Harvest Host come out. So wanted to talk a little bit about some of the different companies that are out there that can start people on their journey for those that haven't started. So there's a number of different websites out there that allow you to promote what you're doing, and also to get into the marketplace, and also some in different ways. Harvest Host is an interesting one. It's an RV only site, and it is a free registration, and they're quite a large one. They're based out of the States, and they actually this January just took over another company called, what was it, RV Adventures, RV Experiences. And so they actually have over 5,000 different farms and wineries through North America. And what happens is guests buy a membership to that, and that gives them access to all the farms that they could go and stay around North America. And what happens with Harvest is you, and if you have one or two or three RV spots available, they'll be able to book them for one night. And how it works from a financial perspective is for Harvest Host, they actually just, it's free for them to stay. However, there's the expectation of a $30 to $40 spend US. So if you have a winery, if you have a gift shop, if you have food and stuff that you're selling, experiences, attractions, basically what's happening is they're coming, they're spending the time, and then they're sort of committed to supporting. What's kind of neat about some of this, as people start to explore the opportunities, is it's not selling anything directly. So you're kind of clear from a lot of some of the regulatory stuff that some different communities might have, because essentially somebody has come and parked their RV on your land for one day. They spend a bit of money in your business and then they've left. So it's interesting to see how that's going to evolve with time. but it's a really neat experience. So something worth checking if you have a little bit of land that you would like people to come and stay on and see what that experience looks like. We do have a presentation from Harvest Host. I'll have to double check. I think it is in our host resources. If not, I'll make sure it gets uploaded to there. And then we have a one-pager on it. So I'm happy to, of course, share that with everybody. There's some other ones as well. There's Hip Camp. Hip Camp is very similar to Harvest Host, with the exception that Harvest Host is restricted to just RVs. So you don't need to have washrooms, you don't need to have anything. Everything comes 100% contained within their RVs. Hip Camp allows you to promote tenting, RV spots, lodgings, or glampings. Campertunity is for tent or RVs, and again, similar process where you've got land available for people to come. And then as people start to get a little bit more developed into it, Airbnb actually has farm stays where you can actually go through and use camping filters and farm stay filters. So if you're starting to get into the fold of those kinds of things. And then lastly is Glamping Hub, which is sort of that higher end, cabin yurt, teepees, that kind of things. So what's kind of interesting is these kind of companies can help you test out some different things. And some you don't need to have any amenities whatsoever. And slowly and surely you kind of grow up and through that sort of format to see. So if you're interested in it, the one thing that I always suggest for people that are looking at this and they're looking at farm stays or making this permanent is these sorts of things are great ways to test it out. You can see how you feel about having people on your land. What does that feel like? Does that work for you? Does it work for your whole family that's out there? And we've had people in the past that have actually built accommodations only to realize that they genuinely did not want people staying there overnight. That didn't make them feel comfortable, and they didn't like not having that control of it. So this is a great way to kind of test it out and determine, is this a lot of fun for me, or is this a little bit of a pain in the neck? So something that we would, something that we would definitely suggest. Now, there's, to move on to the next steps, there are a few granting things, typically open this time of year, but that aren't right now. And Travel Alberta has one which actually does support infrastructure. We anticipate that it'll be opening in September, so hopefully we'll have a little bit more information about that coming up. It's kind of an interesting one where they are looking to boost tourism and things that support that permanent development. So we've seen a number of places that have been successful with getting domes and yurts and those sorts of things funded or partially funded. So it's a great way to kind of explore. There's a number of our farms that have been working with multiple different platforms over the years. So if people have questions, I am happy to connect you directly to some of the different users that have been using these platforms so that you can get a little bit of firsthand information on what some of these platforms might look like and some of the things. But I'm also happy to answer any questions that we have on kind of what works. So I'm going to flip over here to any questions that are out there. I don't really understand how to get blog posts or social media posts up. Carly, do you want to unmute? I think that's to Cameo. So Cameo.
Yeah, sure. Hi, guys. Hi, Janice. Thanks so much. Yeah, I recently sent a blog or a post that I was hoping to put up in the Alberta Open Farm Days Facebook page. And I just did it straight through Facebook and I didn't hear anything. So I'm just seeing Cameo saying email is preferred. Can you just please drop your email again, Cameo? That would be great. Thank you.
Can do. And yeah, any stories you want, and or that email's great because the farms with our ads or the Facebook story can get kind of cluttered. So apologies for not seeing that. But yeah, I'll just drop my email in here and that applies to everyone.
Great. Now, Carly, I saw your question. I thought I said people don't want to pay for high end. I will say that what there is a wide range of people. So for Open Farm Days, we move somewhere around 55,000 people around the province. And what we have is really interesting, but we've got everything from young families to senior couples, and young couples. So we come across every kind of budget imaginably. So we have farms that have 10, like some of our protein farms have $10,000 days. So there's people spending a lot of money on a lot of experiences. And then there's people that are willing to spend little amounts of money. Some, when we did our research, some people were coming back and we were categorizing their spend. And some were like, yeah, it was a great free weekend. I just had such a great time and didn't have to spend any money outside of food and drink. And then they start listing all the things that they spent money. So they didn't consider that as money spent. But we have a lot of people that are really happy to go and spend a lot of money. So we have like long table dinners at $200 a person that aren't an issue at all. So the accommodation that would go with that would be expected to be, like appropriately priced for those kinds of experiences. So really there is a person for every kind of experience. The reality is the people at that higher end that are wanting to spend upwards of $500 and $600 for a night are less, and the people that are wanting to spend in that sort of $125, $150 a night would be more the norm. But there's a lot of people in that category that are looking for that kind of experience. And I think what's important to note is people are willing to spend the same amount on cabins and yurts as they are on hotels. So it's almost they're it's interesting in some of the conversations, and I think found that too with like comfort camping and with the Alberta camping program. So I'm not too sure if you're familiar with comfort camping, but they're generally charging about $125 for campsites that have either yurts, trapper tents, teepees, sometimes cabins. So you're spending what you would again, but you're in unique places in campgrounds. So people are loving that aspect of it. So people will pay hotel prices to stay on a farm. And what that looks like depends on the amenities. So when we've got our wellness seekers, our people that are looking to do that, they're obviously going to spend more. And you can see a wide range of those kinds of experiences going for $500, $600 a night. But that comes with the high-end amenities that go with it. So really it's such a wide range. So really it's about figuring out what is your business model look like and what do you want to attract. So I think that's kind of important. A good question about the per person. We've seen a couple of different things. There's a number of places that are trying different models, and I will say the successful models that I have seen is per place as opposed to per person. So there's one company that is doing a per person for their teepee camping. But the reality is in this specific place, you bring your own bedding, you can rent bedding from them, but it's the teepee is provided, the firewood's provided, and then a la carte, you can order food, you can order all sorts of different things. And their model was to charge per person, and it was not successful. The ones that charge a flat rate for the campsite, if you will, have been very successful. And you can put whatever limitations around sort of pets and numbers in there. Like you're not looking for a party tent of 20 people shoved into a teepee. But that's sort of up to, which really indicates what does that teepee or that tent hold. I think that is the way to go. As soon as you start doing it by person, it doesn't really work unless you're including a food package which has breakfast, and then things are priced per person. So those kinds of things kind of work. But the models that seem to have worked the best are the ones that are per price, for that experience, and then you can add on your other pieces. All right. Gray area here is dealing with local county regarding overnight. Yes, their permits require from the county is not an easy process. You're right. So counties can typically be quite prickly and difficult depending on where you're at. This is the one kind of interesting thing about the Harvest Host is it's almost in that gray area, because technically what you haven't done is you haven't no one is paying to stay there. So there's no money changing hands in that traditional sense. So it sort of skirts a lot of the issues. You can control how many people come. And essentially, usually what happens is they arrive kind of towards the end of the day, they stay overnight and they leave the next day. So you've got an overnight stay that's not really using anything. So in that sense, Harvest Host has built a program that it's no different than having a friend with their camper come and stay the night and then keep going. So it's kind of clever in that sense. There's a bit of an honor system where the expectation that they are spending the money. And I am not suggesting that that's the big strategy for everybody for going forward, but what that might give you is the idea of, am I comfortable with having people on the land? What does that look like? What does that feel like? And I think that's an important thing, because I have had stories of people that are like, we thought this would be fun, we thought we would like it, and we tried it and we didn't, and wished we had known. So this just gives you that opportunity to test it a little bit and see if this might be something that might work for you. It's something you could even test out for open farm days and, have people stay over that 16th, 17th and go, okay, what did that look like? And yeah, we're going to do this, or no, we're not. Oh, I've got somebody talking about Harvest Host. Do you want to unmute? Oh, that must be you, Rick. Rick, do we have to unmute you, or can you unmute? Or maybe not.
I think he has to unmute. I
Yeah.
can't do it from here.
Yeah. So I know, for example, DNA Gardens as well. They use Harvest Host. They use HipCamp. They use a bunch of different ones. They have a campground. So their goal is to fill as much space as they can. And then they sell their wines, their distilled products, and then they have a little market store. So, they've been quite happy with them. And it's gone quite well for them. I know Gull Lake, don't know if I see Alita here or not. Same sort of thing. They've had a good amount of success with Harvest Host and HipCamp as well. And, they've just been sort of testing out what does it feel like to have people here, because their plans are to build some stuff long term. So, I think there's a lot of people within the Open Farm Days community that have had some good success with it. So, yeah. So I'll ask at this point, anybody can unmute if you've got questions, and I'll just kind of get caught up on the questions here. Yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah. So Fairfolk Farms, you do Airbnb using their filters, which is wonderful. Again, so yeah, I would say we view Open Farm Days as a marketing platform that helps people create the awareness around getting out and exploring rural Alberta. The more people that sort of co-promote Open Farm Days as the big picture, what you're doing, it's that rising tides floats all boats. So the more people that are talking about it, promoting it on Facebook, on Instagram, on your platforms, anyone that you are working with to support your own businesses on your platform, like Rick, I know that you've got lots of artists in that come out for yours. So again, getting all of the artists that come out to be posting this, because they will have their supporters, and this really creates more and more of a groundswell. So I think that's really good. But anytime that you can be sort of co-promoting Open Farm Days, feel free to reach out directly to Cameo and talk a little bit about some different stuff that you might be able to do, and then how we can also help amplify your message, because our website will be turning over. All of the new profiles get uploaded next week, and basically after that, once June hits, we start promoting 2025. So that's where we're going to start to see, that's where our booking links are going to, start to be established. That's where people are going to start booking individual visits and stuff like that, and then hopefully overnight accommodations as well. So the more advanced booking they have, the more time they decide they want to spend exploring rural Alberta, and the more overnight accommodations that we're going to see. All right. Oh, Carly, yes, we will be using Front Door again. Yeah. We'd like, the booking platform has been really beneficial in terms of giving our farms a sense of what their numbers could look like and what things can do. It also, when people start to book early, again, they start to plan out their stuff. Our goal is the more overnight stays and stuff that we can start to encourage, the better the tourism numbers are going to look like, and the more farms will have an opportunity to experience. So while we don't want people that aren't interested in getting into the overnight accommodation, no one should feel forced to do anything. But it could be a fun thing to dabble with and to figure out whether a little bit of RV or tent camping might be worth exploring, and then seeing if down the road, if this is an area that you want to get into. So what I will do, we'll grab all the emails for everybody that registered for today. And then Cameo, maybe we can send out the full package from Harvest Host, and then you'll have the other ones as well. A lot of people are using multiple platforms. So if you're using Harvest Host, you can also use HipCamp. You can also use like tailor make it to what your offerings are. So you can certainly do that for those that are just looking to have a couple of people to test it out. I would pick one platform just so you only get a few people. For hosts, it's most of the platforms are all free to register, so that part's not a problem. But and there's lots of different things, and there's more and more coming. Some of them have more strengths in different markets than others. So the most robust of the sites right now would be Harvest Host and HipCamp, and the other ones are kind of coming. And some have strengths more Alberta, BC, and some are more Ontario. And we've got a few that are Atlantic Canada, and I didn't include them because they weren't as relevant for anyone sort of testing out here. But certainly if that's something you're looking to do, I would explore all of them if you've got the capacity to do it. And that puts your listings in as many places as possible. And if you're just looking to dabble, I would suggest picking one and determining how many days that you want to host and what they are. And then you can usually put them on the calendars as available dates that you're hosting, so you can kind of completely control what those days and dates are. Great. Yeah, we were super happy with the booking platform as well. So I think they did a great job, and also and we always encourage this, but after you get your registration, I mean, contact them ahead of time, say, hey, look forward to seeing you. It can be batch email, and let them know what they can expect on your farm that day. And it also gives the opportunity to follow back up with them afterwards. So it's nice that you could start to create a database of users for your farm. Great. Well, any questions on overnight accommodations? I would suggest for people that are really interested in it, gosh, there are so many really unique places that are doing some fun stuff. I'm happy to send you some links if you want to just shoot me off an email. I can send you to some links of some interesting places sort of in Ireland and in Australia that are really kind of upping it. A lot of them are sort of farm stays, cabins, those kinds of things. But for an entry point, I would say Harvest Host is a good bet for you. And then you can start to explore where we go from there. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining. And our next one is on the 9th we have Alberta Health Services and AGLC. So talk about artisan markets and then food on your farm. And then the following week on the 16th, we have Chef Andrea Harling, and she is doing a quick workshop on berries. So basically a combination of freeze-dried, dehydrated, and what you can be doing with berry powders and different kinds of things if you find that you've got excess at the end of the season, and allows you to take a look at some of the processing stuff. So we've got some exciting stuff coming up. So thank you for joining, and we will see you in the next round.